Hello, it's John, small town, small time bookseller. This is what, third week in a row I'm going to attempt to put out a video. I'm trying to catch up. I really am. So we've got a bunch of sales to talk about today. And, we'll get into it pretty soon. Because of that, I don't want this video to go too long. And so that's pretty much why I'm here. So we're going to be talking about books that I have sold on eBay. And I'll tell you any little tidbit about them that I feel necessary when we get to them. So that's pretty much all I do. I don't do any yard sale videos. I don't do garage sale videos. I don't do GoPros, at the Goodwill bins with looking at my hands and their lurid hues. Like color pictures of prune and noodle casseroles and velvet crumb cakes and bacon canopies for a publisher of cheap cookbooks that were given away as a premium and a 5 and dimes. Oh, Lord, no, I don't do any of that. All right, so I'm going to try to get my notes here. Okay, that wasn't too bad that time. So this video is going to cover the first half of December 2023. So because I'm doing a half a month, it's actually going to end up being 34 sales. I say 34 sales because 2 of the sales had multiple items in them. So, and then there's a couple of others that'll get bundled together. So 3 of the same thing. So we'll it may not be quite as bad as you're thinking it is going to be, but we'll give it a shot. And so real quick, I want to just thank everyone who's been subscribing lately. I really do appreciate that. And this is just, we're going to hopefully continue to catch up and get back close to where I am, closer today. So we'll see how it goes. Let's see if there's anything else to talk about before we get in. Today's hat, hammerhead slings. If you want a hammerhead sling, I'll have you know these are made of high module polyethylene. They are enhanced by a recrystallization process. So if you ever wake up in the morning and you go outside and you see there's a train in your front yard or a ferry boat or a bulldozer and you need to move it, get yourself a hammerhead sling. And you're going to want to, yeah, it's nice looking. So why do I point this out? No matter what ridiculous astronomical price I place on this hat in my store, for viewers, $5 plus shipping. So just send me an offer. Say, hey, I'm a viewer, and I like that hammerhead sling hat for $5, and it's yours. So that's it. We're going to get into it, right? No reason not to. Is there any reason not to? I don't think so. And here we go. The first sale was also refunded after I sold it. So it was a Czechoslovakian stamp from 1919. I got a stamp album at a estate sale, and have pulled out several really good stamps out of there that I've sold for $75, $85. And then I also was pulling out some lesser, valued ones. So I used the eBay's envelope shipping on this one, and it never got there. So the guy messaged me a couple months later, and there's less tracking information when you use the standard envelope option. So I just really wasn't sure if it had moved or gone anywhere. But he said he never got it, and I said, well, let's wait. At that point, I was waiting a little bit longer. But when it had been a couple months, and the guy said that he was in San Diego, and there had been a story in the news about a postal truck that had caught on fire, and a lot of mail had been destroyed. And so, maybe it was in there. Who knows? But I did refund him the $5. But I want to put it on here just so you know it did sell. So if you come across stamp albums, even foreign stamps, might be worth picking up. That stamp album I picked up had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stamps. They were really well organized. They were not hinged or in. They were just in, sheets with different rows, and you just place them in the rows. So they were well cared for and had some really interesting stamps in there. Some from, this one was from 1919. So anyhow, moving on. I sold 3 Q-Link cards. I was moving through those. They're over $7.75 each. I actually sold 4, and one of them got canceled. So I sold, got money for, and shipped out 3. The next one was this, The Rule of 5, A Parent's Guide. It was paperback, sold for $8. Real quickly, I don't list anything other than those Q-Link cards. I don't list any books less than $10. So at this point where I am doing this part-time, it's just not worth my time to sell things for less than that. So if I sell anything on here that I say that is less than $10 for a book, then that means that somebody gave me an offer, and it's something that's probably been sitting a while, and I accepted the offer. So, but once you get the fees taken out, you think about the cost of the materials, the time it takes. I don't like to sell anything for less than $10. All right, moving on. We have Galveston's Historic Downtown and Strand District, sold for $10. These books, it's a series of books that will look at individual cities, and Galveston is a very popular tourist destination. It's a very famous city. It's a lot about it. So I sell quite a bit of history on Galveston, and it's about an hour from here, just a little bit south and east from where I am. I hardly ever go there. Like, I can't remember it's been a long time. Probably last summer I think I was in Galveston, but it don't go there very much at all. The next one was The End of the House of Allard by Sheila K. Smith, 1923 copy of that, sold for $10. So I pick up the vast majority of my books at the Goodwill bins up in Houston, and they have books for 2 for $1, and that's where I get most of my books. There's also a thrift store near where I work that I stop at. There's an SPCA thrift store that's not too far away. There's a regular old Goodwill, but they never have any. I can't remember the last time I bought a book at the regular Goodwill. And other than that, library sales, occasionally pick up stuff. I got a real, the best sale for today's video came from a library sale. So you're gonna want to stick around for that one. It is a really good one. All right, moving on. Fountain Pens, A Collector's Guide, hardcover, sold for $10. Anything related to collecting or hobbies, even if it's fountain pens. Somebody's collecting fountain pens, and this would be something that would interest them. So anything kind of book on collecting, I definitely would pick up or at least look into. All right, so then we had another Nota book. So we had the Stamp and the Q-Link. This is my third Nota book. Is a CD. Steve Tyrell, I'm not sure how Steve pronounces his last name. Live at the Cafe Carlisle, a 15-year anniversary edition, sold for $10. So CDs, there are CDs that sell, even though you can find them really, really cheap. And at the Goodwill bins, all media is 2 for $1. So whether that's a record, DVD, CD, record album, the VHS tape, they're all 2 for $1. Any media is 2 for $1. All right, next we had Trust in Numbers by Theodore Porter, sold for $12. And then I was disappointed on this one because this is probably the first book, let me think. I think this is the first book that I've ever had to refund because the buyer said they did not receive it. If there's ever another one, it was maybe one, but you generally not. And this is a Yada de Laurentiis autographed cookbook, Everyday Pasta, and so for $12, so not a huge loss, but the tracking, and it never showed up after I refunded it. The tracking showed that it did show up, but that's okay. I mean, you can't expect people to wait forever, and it had been about 2 months, I think, at least 2 months, where and it still hadn't gotten there. And but like I said, it did say delivered after I refunded it, so that's not the buyer's fault. So I don't mind refunding them for that. But In all the hundreds of books that I've ever sold and have used media mail, I'm telling you, this is probably the first time I've ever had a book not get there. There's been a couple times where I put in an inquiry through the U.S. Postal Service, and they were able to locate the book and get it delivered. That's happened twice, I think. I didn't put in an inquiry on this one. It had been 2 months at this point. This was, yeah. So I just refunded them. All right, next we have Collaborating for English Learners. Sold for $12.50. This is a book that my district had a bunch of that they were going to be tossing out, so I took them. And though anything related to English learners is often a good seller. You can definitely look those up. And again, once again, it's going to be if it's current, still good information. Depending on if a district is using it or not, then you might sell, might not. But they're good ones. They're ones you definitely want to look up. And then we have Wonder Advent Meditations on the Miracle of Christmas. So $12.55. Remember, these sales are from first half of December. So maybe that's why I had a couple of these Christmassy kind of sales in it. Next, we had another fiction. This is Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh from 1993. Sold for $13.50. This is from the Everyman's Library. That's been around a long time. You'll find books from early 1900s that are in the Everyman's Library. This one is from 1993, still Everyman's Library. And I find that they'll sell in this spec perfect, like 10 to 15 bucks. A lot of them. So it's good ones to look up. Then I had another not a book. This was a hat. I sold a Shiner Bach hat. And that sold for $14. Yay. And then we had The Regenerative Diet by John Christopher from 1987. Sold for how much? 15 bucks. So that's another good genre, is diet books. Books that are related to specific diets are good. Cookbooks or books about diets. You always look them up. You never know. So a lot of people, yeah. I look them up. Then we had 2 Pogo books, not like the jumping up and down kind of Pogo, but the cartoon character Pogo. This was from 1965 and 1966. We have the Pogo Poop book and The Return of Pogo. Sold together for $15 for those 2 Pogo books. Next we had a 1958 Singer sewing book, How-To Instructions, Guide to Sewing, sold for $15. I don't know why would somebody buy a 1958 sewing book? Do they have the Singer sewing machine from 1958 and they wanted to go along with it? Are there certain styles and types that were popular in the 50s this person's trying to recreate? I'm really not sure, but I sell quite a bit of books on sewing, older books on sewing, directions or how-tos and things like this. So look up, if you see sewing books around, I definitely would look them up. Then we had a study guide book, Picmonic 4 Weeks to the NCLEX Workbook and Study Planner, sold for $15. That's one of the big selling genres there, are study guides for tests and things. And then we have The Language of Real Estate, the 8th edition, sold for $15 as well. Don't know any idea what that's going to be about. Hold on. I got a low battery thing. Close. Okay, there we go. Here comes a cookbook. Taste of Puerto Rico, traditional and new dishes from the Puerto Rican community, sold for $15. Regional cookbooks are good sellers, so always look up regional cookbooks. Here we had a vintage from 1971, Lecturas Clásicas para Niños. It was a reprint of a 1924 edition, and it is printed in Mexico, and that sold for $15. I sell quite a bit of stuff in Spanish, so don't shy away from that as well. Then we have Fostoria, its first 50 years by Hazel Murray Weatherman, 1972, sold for $18. Then we have the David Coconut, people in their names, Rogue Soldier of the Texas Revolution, signed by the author, Alan Barber, or was it David Coconut? I think that Alan Barber was the Rogue Soldier and David Coconut was the author. It might be the backwards. I'm just going off this right here. But anyways, it sold for $20. Then another book in Spanish, fiction book, La Linterna Mágica. And this is an old one, 1891. Fiction book, sold for $20 as well. Then I sold, next, not a book, but it's close to being a book. And it was 2 pads of spiral bound sketch pads, like 2 sketch pads, each 100 sheets, sold for $20. And what's next? The Beauty and Desire in Edo, Japan, in Edo period Japan, ukiyo-e, Japanese woodblocks, sold for $20. I guess niju. And then we have, this is a good sale. This is a really good, not a book sale. So I got these mechanical, what do you call it? Mechanical pencils, like drafting pencils. And they are 5.6 millimeter drafting pencil, mechanical, Kawiko SketchUp mechanical pencil. I'd gotten about 9 or 10 of these at a long time ago when we had an Amazon return store, the bin drop in Lake Jackson. And I used to go there every Saturday and get stuff. And I got these one day. So not just Saturday, but throughout the week, you know. And they sat for a long time. And then, you know, I mean, like, I had them listed for probably over a year. And then so one sold, another sold, and then I had somebody buy 7 of them. And they sold for $21 each. And so that was $147 for these 7 pencils. So that was awesome. I loved getting those going. And I think they went to Portland, Oregon. And so I was really, really thrilled to get those going. All right, we have another study guide, the Medical Assistant Exam Prep Study Guide, so for $22. And then we had a book in French. So Isaac Asimov's Foundation books. I only had books 1, 3, and 4. I looked everywhere for book 2, couldn't find it. But books 1, 3, and 4 in French sold for $30 for those 3 books. So I've sold not a lot of stuff in French. I sold some Warhammer books that were in French, and maybe a history book in French, but not a lot. But just, you know, obviously, especially in South Texas, we're gonna sell a lot more stuff in Spanish. But I also look at any kind of foreign language books. I always look them up. And then I sold some ephemera from the 1968 Texas World's Fair. It's from San Antonio. The World's Fair was it was the World Fair in San Antonio, Texas, in 1968. And it was just a bunch of guides, like little maps and guides and just flyers that people picked up from different countries and different exhibits. And they had a little packet, little maps and things. It was really interesting stuff. And so I put those together in a lot. And so that sold for $30. Pretty good little another not a book sale right there. All right, we're down to the last 3. So these are the big sales. This one, Miner's Lamps and Cold Mountain Winters. Tales from the Good Old Days of Southwest Virginia. Regional stories, genealogies, great sellers. That sold for $85 for that one. And the next one we had a first edition, first printing of The Campaigns of Napoleon by David Chandler. Didn't have the dust jacket, but still sold for $85. A tip on sometimes, how do you know it's a first edition, first printing? First editions are notoriously hard to pin down. Sometimes it'll be, is it the first edition of the first time this book was ever published, or was it published and then another publishing company published it later on and it's their first edition, but there was an edition that was published previously. So for anything that's worth much, or even if it's not worth much, you want to do your research. You want to make sure if you're calling something a first edition, that it is the first time that book was published. Or else what you can do, sometimes I'll do this on paperbacks, I'll say first Dell edition or first Penguin book edition. And if you specify that, then there's no confusion. We're not claiming this is the first edition ever published, but this is the first time that this publisher has published the book. As far as printings go, there's, again, nothing standardized. Generally speaking, if you have a number line, and the numbers, you'll see a number line where it'll have a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If it has the 1 on there, generally speaking, that means it's a first printing, first edition, first printing. Not always. Sometimes they'll start with a 0. Sometimes start with a 1. So you got to look into different publishers to see. And that's a lot of times older books especially won't specify which printing it is. Paperbacks often do. You'll see it's a 67th printing. And if you have something that's like a 3rd or 4th printing, it'll be worth a lot more than a 67th printing. So if you have a lot of books that are listed on eBay, you can go through the other listings to see, did anyone take a picture of their copyright page? So if some of them, everything looks the same, but one of them says 3rd printing on it, on the copyright page, and your book doesn't say anything, usually the first printing doesn't say anything. They're going to print something for the second impression or second printing or 3rd or later. So that's something you can look at to know if yours is a first edition, a first printing, by just comparing it to others. Most people are going to take a picture of that title page, and you can just compare it to yours. So if everything looks the same, but this one says 3rd printing and yours is blank where it says, that one says 3rd printing, you can pretty much assume that that is a first printing. There's a lot of variation between publishers and books and time periods and everything. So please, if you have additional comments to add, anything to correct on what I just said, put them in the comments. I encourage everyone to read through the comments. I have a lot of people who are really knowledgeable that often comment on my videos. And so, as you might just want to scroll through the comments and see if anyone has added anything, detracted, or anything. I rely a lot on my viewers to teach me about stuff that they know more about than I do. I'm obviously still always learning about this kind of stuff. So, but that one did sell as a first edition, first printing, The Campaigns of Napoleon by David Chandler, $85. And then the big sale. It was a big sale, but it's also the most I've ever paid for something that I resold. So I was at the library, and there's at the library, friends of the library have their wall of books that they sell, and sometimes they have boxes of books that sell. So a while back I sold, what was that one? There was like 16 volumes of it, and I purchased the 16th because that was missing, and then I sold them all together. This one was 32 volumes, and it was complete. And so I had volumes 1 through 32 of the Shaman King manga, English, volumes 1 through 32, complete set, excellent condition. And I bought it for $100. So when I'm normally spending 50 cents, buying something for $100, I was hesitant for sure. But I looked it up on eBay, solds. I have to go to the solds, and there were several solds of this set in smaller editions. There's a lot of things that had sold, and so I thought that I had a pretty good shot of selling this one. They were in excellent condition and being all complete with volumes 1 through 32. And it took not that long, I don't know, a couple months maybe, before it did sell for $320. So I made $220 on that. So very happy with that. If I ever spend money like that, I've got to be certain that it's something that is going to sell. And I was pretty confident that that one would eventually sell. And the library gets the money, so I'm happy with that as well. All right, so 34 sales. That includes, one of those sales was 7 pencils, and one of those sales was 32 books. And a couple of those got refunded, but 34 sales. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I've been taking a lot more offers lately, and trying to not maximize my profit, but just taking profit whenever I can, and not worrying about. I think Drew at Tip of the Mitt Flips talked about this a while back, about not worrying about upsetting the market. Like if there's 10 books and we're all pricing our books around $25 to $30, and somebody offers me 20 or 17, I can take that and not worry about upsetting everybody else. And so I have to keep in mind, I paid 50 cents for this book. That $45 offer, even though it's $20 less than I'm asking, is still $45 on a 50-cent investment. So I have found myself taking more offers, or if I counter, I'll only counter. Instead of, if I have it for 75 and somebody offers me 50, I might have in the past come back at 70. But now I'm more likely to counter with something closer to their offer. So they offer 50, I might go 55 or 60 and be happy with a significant profit. So I'm still declining really low ball offers. Somebody offered me $2 on something that I had listed for like 40. I'm not even going to counter that. So that's just decline. So that's kind of my strategy lately. It seems to be working pretty good. I'm moving a lot of stuff. I had 6 sales this weekend. That's we going out tomorrow. And so that was, happy with that. I've been listing a lot of stuff and selling quite a bit. So sales are going pretty well right now. And let's see, anything else to talk about? So get to our numbers for this one. The Nada books, we had 9 sales for $249.25. Came to a $27.69 average, which, let's see, what was I going for? I've got it written down over here. The 27.69. Yes, hit my mark. That's what I was hoping for. 27.69. Excellent. You check that off. Okay, there we go. And then my books, I had 25 book sales, because one of them was $320 for $825.55. $33.02 average on the book sales, well above the $25 random, completely arbitrary number that I say is a good sales period. So this was a very good sales period. And so I hope that everything's going well for you. Today was Easter. Hope you had a wonderful Easter. I've got the day off tomorrow, so I'm doing this video kind of late because I don't have to worry about waking up early, which is nice. And so I'm going to go finish adding the pictures and all, and try to get this guy out tomorrow morning. Sorry for it kind of being a rapid fire. I hope you got something out of it. I know it wasn't the most entertaining video ever, but I just want to get through these and get caught up to where I can put a little bit more thought. It's sometimes hard to remember when I'm back to December and now oh gosh, we're going to be into January, March, April, right? Oh, so I'm catching up, but when I get closer, then I'll maybe have more memory of what's sold. Anyhow, I don't have a lot of memory with anything, but yeah, anyhow. So I hope you are selling the heck out of a bunch of stuff, and I'll see you hopefully sooner rather than later. Adios.